Welcome to the semester finale of Razorback Reels. I'm Gigi Kraemer.
And I'm Franchesca Brownhanney. Thank you for joining us.
While this might be the last show of the semester and a final Reels appearance for some of our beloved seniors, it would not be a complete without a Taylor Swift debrief. Last week, the icon dropped her latest double album, The Tortured Poets Department, and naturally, the pop culture community is in chaos. Franchesca, what are your thoughts on this breakup album?
Honestly, I am not the biggest T Swift fan, but I do support her. I love what she's doing. I just haven't listened to it yet. What about you?
I have thoughts. I definitely like it more than Midnight's. I love synth pop, so when it was like shown on, I forget what site it was, but people were freaking out. They're like, oh no, it's synth pop. Like I wanted another Folklore or Evermore. I was like, no, I love synth pop. Like it's such a vibe. But I will say it's very hit or miss for me. Like there's some songs that I love, like I Can Do It With a Broken Heart. I love the Albatross. And then there's some other songs where I'm like, okay, maybe we could have just done 17 songs or whatever. But overall, I'd say it's pretty good. And I like it more than her last album.
Yeah. When it comes to Taylor Swift, I think I am definitely more of her indie album fan and less of her pop radio fan, but I'm sure it's good. I'll have to listen to it.
Yeah.
Taylor's album has been well received by her Swifties. One internet show has left their loyal fan base feeling betrayed and outraged. Watcher, a YouTube channel, announced their new streaming service along with their decision to move all content behind a paywall. After serious backlash, the three quickly walked back their business choice and announced content would come to YouTube 1 month after being posted to the paid platform. Gigi, do you think this was the right call?
So personally, no. I know that people were comparing it to College Humor and Dropout because College Humor has had a successful move onto a streaming service. And the difference is I feel like Watcher, they just don't have enough content, especially if they're going to charge $6 a month. Like, okay, you think Netflix, Peacock, whatever, it's $6 a month. When you're paying for Netflix or Peacock, you're getting like, what, 5,000 shows or whatever. And for 8 hours of content a month, I could just not justify that price tag.
I 100% agree. Now, I am a longtime fan of BuzzFeed Unsolved. I love binging all of their episodes while eating lunch.
Yeah.
I just haven't seen that much internet fan base for Watcher. Yeah. I think they are kind of swept under the rug with all of the other, like you were just saying, all of the other platforms that are very similar.
Yeah, I think when they lost the BuzzFeed name, like, I'm going to be honest, when I think Watcher, I still think BuzzFeed Unsolved. So while our last episode was about all things Coachella, tonight we're going to give you a brief recap of Weekend 2. Doja Cat made history as the first female rapper to headline, Tyler the Creator had another amazing set, and Blur announced that their Coachella set would probably be their last gig as a band. Francesca, what was your favorite Coachella moment from this weekend?
I'm gonna have to say Chapel Roan.
Of course.
I love her.
Agreed.
I discovered her, I wanna say a couple of weeks ago, and nonstop I get in the car and I'm shuffle. I just love her.
Yes. I know her Coachella set, when I was writing my segment on it, I was like, there's so much I want to say about literally everything, so I'm glad we have a chance to talk about it again. My favorite controversy from Weekend 1 was a kind of niche. So there's this Vocaloid synthesizer software from Japan. Her name is Hatsune Miku, so she has a like little mascot, but she's a synthesizer. She had a set, and they said that they were going to do a 3D hologram, her management company, and then people show up, and she's being projected like a lecture PowerPoint, and people were so upset. So I don't know if they got the hologram working for Weekend 2, but fingers crossed for her fans, because I saw this controversy and I was like, this is a little ridiculous. That feels so bad.
That is definitely something. After the break, we'll be commencing some of our senior sign-offs.
Here, our Reels team graduates will have an opportunity to show you some Reels highlights and say farewell to this special show, so stay tuned.
Our first segment this evening marks the beginning of the end, where we will have to say see you later to some of our most dedicated people here at Razorback Reels.
Starting off with a Reels team member that always has us laughing, Noah Kim.
Now it's time for me to make some enemies. She was able to transform all of her fans into trust-busting Marxists just by simply putting the Eras Tour on Ticketmaster. Due to ongoing SAG-AFTRA strike, I will not be talking about his upcoming movie, Redacted of the Redacted, starring Redacted DiCaprio, Redacted Gladstone, and Brendan Fraser. I would have swiped right maybe in high school, but my brain wasn't developed yet. Politicians knew that the average American was two things: bad at Middle Eastern geography, and in favor of oil prices going down. In this song, Gucci Mane claims to actually be Kris Kringle himself, and now our Reels correspondents are behind the scenes working hard to fact-check this claim, but if it's true, then a lot of companies are gonna have to answer for their shameless whitewashing of a holiday icon. Of course, I gotta thank my mom for all the work she put in to get me here today. Razorback Reels, Mom, I made it. For Razorback Reels, reporting for Razorback Reels, I'm Noah Kim. I have been Noah Kim. Appreciate y'all.
Thanks, anchors. And that's right, we are kicking off senior sign-off with the one, the only, Noah Kim. Noah first made his Reels debut way back in 2021, where he gave watchers a movie review via Zoom call. Unfortunately for us, that episode has since been lost to the Reels void, but since Noah started consistently reporting in the fall of 2022, his fans have lots of other content to keep them watching. Noah has been a catch-all reporter for all kinds of topics, specializing in rap beef and political coverage, but was always been open to take on any segment we needed. For the final time, he is here in studio to give you the recap on all things Noah Kim.
Appreciate the intro. Whether it's an inability to do math or science or a terminal case of being chronically online, there's quite a few threads that connect all broadcast journalism majors, and here at Reels, we like to discuss our common interests in pop culture topics and happenings. This is information that has absolutely no real-world benefit, aside from making small talk just a little easier. But we love to do it nonetheless. Pop culture's influence only encroaches further as the generations go by, and we would all be lying if we said pop culture didn't affect us in one way or another. So my name is Noah Kim, and I want to talk about 3 pop culture moments that shaped me. Starting off, I have to discuss how Korean cinema fell into the American mainstream after Parasite won Best Picture. Parasite is by far one of my favorite modern movies. It's a little funny, a little introspective, and very traumatizing. And that's why I love it. This movie broke down many cultural barriers when it became the first ever foreign film to win Best Picture at the Oscars. Plus, it's just a breath of fresh air to watch a movie that is 100% original, no Marvel stuff. You know, Bong Joon-ho is a masterful filmmaker who absolutely deserves every bit of credit he has received, and I beg all of y'all to watch and check out every single one of his movies because this dude has not missed yet. Moving on, I gotta talk about 2 albums that ended 2 long hiatuses from my favorite artists. Both came out during 2020. Need I say more? The New Abnormal by The Strokes and Fetch the Bolt Cutters by Fiona Apple. These albums came out within months of each other, and they marked a triumphant return for these artists after their multi-year-long break. The Strokes and Miss Apple assured the listeners that they haven't lost their touch, as both albums exist high amongst my rankings of their discographies. The New Abnormal saw the Strokes returning to their garage rock roots with some slick production choices and modern classics. I think Rick Rubin's on it. Whereas Fetch the Bolt Cutters felt like a DIY album, but in the best way possible. Miss Apple's unique take on alternative jazz stylings was complemented by her rugged instrumental choices. And there will never be a lyricist that's on the same level as Fiona Apple. She is really the chancellor of the tortured poets department. And the final pop culture moment that has shaped me is a bit of a wild card, but I have to say the 2016 and 2020 elections. First and foremost, modern American politics can absolutely be considered pop culture. I've seen national debates reposted on World Star. I've seen politicians vying for the support of Taylor Swift, and I've seen this country elect a reality show host as president. The collective brain rot induced by the internet infiltrated our political institutions, and it could not be more entertaining. The past 2 presidential elections generated a plethora of hilarious moments that can now exist on YouTube compilations for our enjoyment. A couple of highlights have to be Rick Perry forgetting his talking points at a debate, Donald Trump getting COVID like 3 days before election night, Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren beefing on a hot mic, and Hillary Clinton uttering a line that will be printed in every American history textbook, and I quote, "How do we get them to Pokemon Go to the polls?" Deep stuff. Our government is run by overpaid idiots, so I find a lot of enjoyment knowing that our hard-earned tax dollars are going into the wallets of wannabe Twitter influencers. But that wraps up the major pop culture moments that really defined me as a person. I'd like to thank the Reels viewers and fanatics for watching my semi-coherent rambling over the years. Reporting for the last time on Razorback Reels, I have been Noah Kim.
You've contributed to this show in so many wonderful ways, and I know we will all miss seeing you in the studio.
Continuing senior sign-off after a short break.
Catch us back here as we say goodbye to another important graduate.
For our second bittersweet goodbye, we have Reels icon Elena Thompson.
I think that that is a bad take. We all know I love Taylor Swift. We think about time increments in All Too Well 10-minute versions. The pair was then seen riding into the sunset together in Kelsey's car. Better yet, the getaway car. I just think he's the worst, but what do you think? Maybe the Bedbugs are actually the winners of the week, and this is their first step to taking over the world. For Razorback Reels, reporting for Razorback Reels, I'm Elena Thompson. I'm Elena Thompson. I'm Elena Thompson. I'm Elena Thompson. Have a wonderful night.
Elena's been a key player here in her time here. Starting as a reporter in 2021, she made her debut with a recap on Taylor Swift's re-release of her Fearless album, which is incredibly fitting for her first show. Elena then went on to be a Reels anchor, giving you all the hottest headlines from behind the desk, and continued her extensive resume by lead producing for a semester. Eventually, she found her way back to her spot as an anchor, but she's making one last reporter appearance tonight. To tell you a little about herself before she signs off, here's Elena.
Hey guys, I'm so excited to be here tonight with my final report ever for Razorback Reels and to share with you some of the best of pop culture moments that have helped to make me, me. Now there are so many things that have gone on in the entertainment world during my lifetime, and boiling it down to only 3 things was extremely, extremely difficult to me. But I had to because Maddi wouldn't let me talk for the whole 30-minute broadcast, unfortunately. But that being said, first and foremost, I have to mention an album that shaped all of my teenage years and beyond. And you guys are going to be shocked, but it isn't a Taylor Swift album. Instead, it's Lorde's Pure Heroin album. I feel like everyone remembers the days where there was nothing playing on the radio except for Royals, and that is what got me interested in her in the first place. Each of her songs on Pure Heroin is a perfect reflection of growing up and moving on. And truthfully, there has never come a point in my life where the songs on that album are not somehow applicable. Even now, as we get ready to graduate, the words "feel so scary getting old" ring true more and more every single day. From 400 Lux to A World Alone, all of the songs in this album are bangers, and from first listen when I was 11 years old, it has never wavered as one of my top 3 albums of all time. Now, guys, my next flip pick is a little bit off the wall. I can't even lie. It is also so embarrassing, and you guys are either going to get it or you're not. I have a secret I've been keeping from you guys, and that is that I was an absolute die-hard Dan and Phil fan. From the day that Phil Is Not on Fire, an Amazing Dan videos came out was like a national holiday for me and my friends growing up. These videos, for better or for worse, completely sent me into a YouTube obsession, which caused me to meet all of my high school friends. All of our humor was the same kind of stupid, and we all bought merch and bought all their books and would watch all of their new videos the day they came out. And it was because of these friends that I made that I joined musical theater in high school, which furthermore, if I hadn't joined musical theater in high school, I would have never considered ever doing broadcast journalism because I would have to talk in front of a camera. The butterfly effect really is insane. From watching some silly Dan and Phil videos to shaping my adult life and my career. Truly insanity. And last but not least, I wouldn't be me without talking about Taylor Swift and something she's done, even if it's to Drew's dismay. While there are so many Taylor Swift moments I could pinpoint, there's one that I just feel like I have to mention, and that is All Too Well, the 10-minute version. For those of you who don't know, fans have been hoping and anticipating for the All Too Well 10-minute version ever since Taylor mentioned it in an interview after the release of Red in 2012. The 10-minute version was finally released in 2021, nearly 10 years later. The 10-minute version of All Too Well is nothing short of a masterpiece in my opinion. It's long without ever being boring and painted a perfect picture of heartbreak and healing so tactfully that I couldn't help but be obsessed. And don't even get me started on the short film. Sadie Sink and Dylan O'Brien were perfect choices for actors in this incredible 3-part act that brought me to tears on my first watch. Unfortunately, that is all the time I have for tonight. I hope you enjoyed getting to learn a little bit more about pop culture moments that have shaped me. Signing off for the last time, I'm Elena Thompson.
Thanks, Elena, for filling us in on all that you've gotten into here at the studio. You've done so much for the show, and we cannot thank you enough.
The graduates just keep coming.
Stay tuned after the break for more seniors signing off.
You know him, you love him, and here at Reels, we hate to see him go.
That's right, folks. It's finally time for Drew Chamberlain to say goodbye to Razorback Reels.
I'm your newest Razorback Reels reporter, Drew Chamberlain, here to bring you my segment, Tough Love. Can you smell it, Razorbacks? Love is in the air. I understand the irony that I'm dressed like a chef right now, and the entirety of the movie is about a killer chef, but that doesn't matter. Swipe left. I'm still reading the classics right now, 1984, stuff like that, and so I don't know if I'm gonna get to Britney Spears' Grimace. Our producer, Maddi, is making me talk about none other than Taylor Swift yet again, and I'm thrilled about it. Taylor Swift is very worthy of all the awards she won. I gotta be honest, when I look at this face, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is not the first thing that pops into my head. Oh, mama, you're breaking my heart. For Razorback Reels, I'm Drew Chamberlain. Reporting for Razorback Reels, very laughably, I'm Drew Chamberlain.
After 4 years of reporting, 2 years of anchoring, and 2 years of helping with production in the control room, Drew has become a real staple, debuting with a lovely report of top 10 TV couples way back on Valentine's Day of 2021. Drew has been an expert for all things movies and music and spent many shows hosting our segment Winners and Losers. Between laughing fits live on air, or a handful of passive-aggressive Taylor Swift comments, and a couple close calls with the FCC violation, Drew's time here has been nothing short of entertainment. Here for the last time to catch you up on anything you might have missed in his Reels career, we're sending it over to Drew Chamberlain.
Well, Reels viewers, it's time. After tonight, you won't ever have to experience a hot take, a laughing breakdown, or a subpar joke from me ever again on this show. But this is my curtain call, so let's see if we can fit all of those into just one segment. My name is Drew Chamberlain, and I'm leaving you with my top 3 pop culture moments. As a lifelong music fan, I have a diverse taste of music and artists that I could ramble on for about hours. But I need to tell you about one of the most important albums of all time. It's flawlessly produced, iconic in every way, and most certainly one you'll never forget. Now, I'm obviously, of course, referring to Taylor Swift's 1989. No album has ever, I'm just kidding! Come on, you didn't think I'd actually talk about this garbage? I'll be talking about the Beatles' final album, Abbey Road. I know what you're thinking, pump the brakes, Grandpa, but I will have none of that. When we talk influence, we cannot talk about the biggest band in the world. Abbey Road is the Beatles' final album they all worked on together, regardless of the fact that Let It Be came out 1 year later. This album, front to back, has shaped my love of music, and you can feel the emotion in each member in every song. With a track list like Come Together, Here Comes the Sun, and George Harrison's Something, which Frank Sinatra called the best love song ever written, is accompanied by some of the best songs of the 60s no one talks about, like I Want You, She's So Heavy, and Golden Slumbers. I could have chosen numerous other albums like Jeff Buckley's Grace and Queen's The Night at the Opera, but overall, nothing has shaped my love of music like the Fab Four's Swan Song. Keeping on the thought of swan songs and leaving things on a high note, let's talk about a show that was unapologetically itself, brilliantly written and gone too soon. Donald Glover's Atlanta is without a doubt one of the single greatest pieces of art to ever grace the silver screen and a personal favorite of mine. Following Ivy League dropout Earn, as he and his cousin Paperboy managed the Atlanta hip-hop scene. This surreal and layered show is hilarious and incredibly emotional at times. Donald Glover, who, in my opinion, is one of the most talented individuals working today, has experience in singing, rapping, acting, directing, writing, stand-up comedy. So what better person to create one of the most emotional and well-directed shows in history? With only 4 seasons, which, in my opinion, is not enough, Glover left it all out on the table in the midst of being one of the most in-demand talents in Hollywood at the time. Additionally, Glover just announced he'd be releasing 2 albums under his rap persona, Childish Gambino, and I could not be more thrilled. Lastly, Reels fans, we arrive at my specialty, movies. Movies have always been a lifelong love of mine, so much so it's what I want to do as a career. But for an art form that's been around for over 100 years, how do you just pick one? Now, don't get me wrong, a part of me almost went with my favorite movie of all time, Whiplash, but something compelled me to choose differently. For my pick for the movie that influenced me most, I'm going with Cameron Crowe's Almost Famous. Almost Famous is a love letter to movies and music. Based on the true story of Cameron Crowe's time as a teen reporter for Rolling Stone magazine, Almost Famous chronicles the story of a hungry journalist passionate in music following the next up-and-coming rock band of the early 70s, Stillwater. With an all-star cast, a killer soundtrack, and a screenplay so good that it rips your heart out and crushes it into a million pieces, Almost Famous entirely influenced, inspired, and compelled me to follow my dreams. Recognize the moments you can't relive, and to always end your story with a bang. Unfortunately, Reels viewers, there is no encore for me tonight. This is the curtain call. Thank you for listening to my picks for the pop culture moments that shaped me into who I am today. Reporting for the last time on Razorback Reels and praying they limit the amount of Taylor Swift content on the show in this future, I'm Drew Chamberlain.
Drew, thanks for that debrief on your brightest moments here at Razorback Reels. We will miss your snarky jokes, and we might even miss your eye rolls when we cover Taylor Swift.
Just like our seniors' time reporting for Razorback Reels, this episode will eventually come to an end, but we aren't through yet.
When we return, we'll say goodbye to one last very special graduate.
It's time to say one final goodbye to the lead producer who has made Reels the show that it is.
Maddi Phipps is here to deliver her senior sign-off.
As an ex-theater kid, of course I'm obligated to discuss it. The night was full of questionable jokes, surprising wins, and a very interesting performance of We Don't Talk About Bruno. As one of the resident Swifties here at Razorback Reels, of course I'm going to rave about the album. Did I watch the Super Bowl game between the Los Angeles Rams and the Cincinnati Bengals? No. I personally think this is the era in which Taylor looks the hottest. I mean, just look at her. Oh, sorry. I was doing my own Tinder swiping. If anyone needs a Barbie to their Ken, I'm available. I'm the reason we did a Taylor Swift special here at Razorback Reels. Do you really think I'm gonna stay in the producing chair in the control room after Sunday night? Whether it's plastic garden gnomes or a zombie apocalypse, it's truly one of the best tragedies of all time. For Razorback Reels, reporting for Razorback Reels, I've been your favorite Swiftie, Maddi Phipps.
Oh boy, Reels watchers, where do we start? Well, you might not always see her in front of the camera. Maddi is here in the studio, writing segments, putting the show together, and just generally making Razorback Reels possible. And when she isn't doing one of those things, she's busy sharing her production skills so that we can keep her legacy going when she graduates. She started as a reporter in 2021 with her debut coverage on the Tony Awards, and after attending literally every single Reel show she could, she took over as our lead producer in 2022 and redesigned the show to make it what we know today. While she's too humble to say it herself, we cannot understate enough how much Maddi has done for Reels, and this goodbye is definitely a hard one. For one last Reels performance, we have Maddi Phipps here to give you all the details on her history with our awesome show.
I wouldn't be the girl I am today without the pop culture that shaped my music tastes, introduced me to my favorite films, and ignited my passion for the entertainment industry. For my final report at Razorback Reels, I'm going to go through my top 3 pop culture moments. Starting with the album that changed my life. Okay, maybe that's a bit dramatic, but this truly changed the trajectory of my personality. You may be thinking, oh, she's gonna talk about Taylor Swift again. And yes, I love Taylor, and her albums are big moments in not only my life, but millions of Swifties. But no album has impacted me as much as the 1975 sophomore album, I Like It When You Sleep, For You Are So Beautiful, Yet So Unaware of It. I could listen to this album every day of my life and never get tired of it. And I technically do. For the past 8 years, I've woken up to the 4th track on the album, A Change of Heart. I set it as my alarm not long after the album was released, and I don't think I will ever change it. I cannot explain how much this album has shaped me into who I am today. I fell hard into the mid-2010s indie and alternative scene as a middle and high schooler. The 1975 is still my favorite band, and also introduced me to the other greats at the time. Have you ever seen this meme? Yeah, that's how I dress when I'm not on camera. I am perpetually stuck in mid-2010s alternative music land, and I never want to leave. So an album and band completely informed my aesthetic, but where do I get my humor and love for the performing arts? You guessed it, I am a loud and proud Gleek. Now, if you aren't familiar with the new directions of William McKinley High, let me introduce you. Glee was a network television show about a ragtag group of misfits coming together to form a glee club. The group is full of Cheerios, divas, and football players, all led by one rapping Spanish teacher. This show molded me as a young performing arts kid. Yeah, that's right, I did show choir and theater. I was like Miss Rachel Berry with dreams of heading to Broadway, though I never sent anyone to a crack house to sabotage their audition. If you can't tell by the ridiculous reference I just made, Glee is a satire. It is genuinely one of the funniest shows I have ever watched. And the covers are also iconic. No, seriously, sometimes the Glee cast cover is better than the original, especially if my boy Blaine Anderson is singing lead. Glee ran from 2009 to 2015, and it was a huge deal. It's absolutely ridiculous and sometimes awful despite its representation. But as a young performer, I could see myself in this group of losers, and I'll make anyone who is remotely interested in getting to know me watch this series. Of course, music and television are incredibly important parts of pop culture, but what do y'all know about web series? An underappreciated and often forgotten form of media, little Maddi would sit at the family computer for hours watching the iconic tie-in web series for the best toy line ever created. Monster High was a doll line released by Mattel in 2010, and it is hands down the most influential part of my childhood. The brand focuses on the children of famous monsters and horror characters. The fashionista kids all attend a high school for monsters and get into endless shenanigans. And while the web series was a major appeal, I was truly obsessed with the dolls themselves. I had over 60 of these creepy cuties. The over-the-top fashion, unique character design, and fun concept made this brand one of the first fandoms I became completely engrossed in. The series was perfect for a more alternative girly girl like me. I loved reading all the characters' backstories and collecting all the variants of my favorites, which, side note, Frankie Stein, Laguna Blue, and my absolute favorite, Spectre Vondergeist, were the it girls in my eyes. Monster High was, and still is, one of my favorite childhood memories. It is so hard to keep this report to just 3 pop culture pieces. I could ramble about Tangled or La La Land, Harry Potter, or Harry Styles for just as long. But it's time to say goodbye. I have loved being a part of Reels for the past 3 years, and I can't wait to tune in next year to see the crazy headlines y'all will be discussing. For the last time, for Razorback Reels, I've been Maddi Phipps.
Maddi, thanks for that amazing pop culture roundup and all that you've done for everyone here tonight. Razorback Reels is forever grateful for you, and we're wishing you all the best.
Well, we're so sad to say goodbye to some of our favorite Reels team members. We cannot wait to see all of the amazing accomplishments they achieve beyond the confines of this studio.
Even though they wrapped up their last report, join us after the break for one last discussion between our 4 graduates. The seniors have done so much for Reels, so it only makes sense that we give them one last chance to shine on camera. We're turning it over to Maddi, Noah, Elena, and Drew to talk about all their favorite Reels memories.
Okay, guys, so what is one of your favorite moments from Reels over the past 4 years?
I think one of my favorite moments is whenever I was anchoring with Ben and we were playing the Newlyweds game. And the questions that were being asked of us, some of them were just truly so off the wall, and I just had no idea, like literally no clue for half of the answers. And this was also at the time whenever Reels would sometimes last just like 45 minutes, or which I guess it is tonight, but it would last 45 minutes unplanned of us literally just sitting and chatting. And I think that's one of my favorite memories. What about you guys?
I remember the golden age of Reels when we played Jeopardy. A lawless time for Razorback Reels.
Yes.
As a 2-time participant in Reels Jeopardy, I have come, I think, like 1 point away from winning. One of which was the times I lost to Maddi.
You were not 1 point away from winning. I was beating you by quite a bit.
I'm not mad about it.
Right.
I'm not mad still.
Of course.
But you know, that's just me. That was that was a great moment.
I think my favorite moment from a producing standpoint was when Drew lost his mind talking about the Grimace Shake, and I just had to sit in the control room and wait for him to calm down, and I came in after the show and he was on the ground laughing. That's probably my favorite moment from Reels.
And that is not the only time that has happened on Razorback Reels. One of our reporters, Yael Evan, one time was doing a story about, I don't even know how it started, but she just started going off on a tangent about how she loved baking for people, and it lasted a long time. It ended up being like a 5-minute segment where she was just like crying, laughing the whole time. She's sitting there with a trucker hat on. It's awesome. It's a great clip.
It's great. Noah, you haven't been here for super long, but what's your favorite moment?
I was going to say it's my turn, so don't cut me off. Thank you, Elena. No, my favorite moment is leaving a breadcrumb trail of my political opinions and thoughts on Razorback Reels. There's no Campus Crossfire that's consistently been like uploading, so I've just kind of, left a light thread of my personal political opinions before I enter the professional field. So that's probably my favorite moment. Sorry to choose a favorite moment that impacted myself. I don't know if that was narcissistic of me, but it's the first thing that came to mind, and I'm panicking right now. So next.
That works. For those of you who haven't had a breakdown on Reels to our future reporters, highly recommend it. Builds character.
Yep.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Back to you.
Back to you at the desk. Or not at the desk.
Joining us as we caught up on all the pop culture and honored some very important grads. We'll see you back here next semester, but until then, follow us on Instagram at Razorback_Reels. I'm Gigi Kraemer, and this is Franchesca Brownhanney. Have a wonderful night.